We just secured our 20th league title, so absolute buzzing. Just in light of that, I thought I'd make a bit of a video about the upcoming summer transfer window, what kind of moves I would make, and what moves I would expect us to make. So let's get into the video. Okay, so first position I feel like we need to strengthen would be striker. Obviously, we are seeing reports that Nunez is most likely leaving in the summer. In my opinion, I think it's probably best for everyone. It hasn't really worked out for him at Liverpool. He seems unhappy. Obviously, we've had the social media posts recently. So yeah, I just think it's a matter of time before he leaves, to be honest. Apparently, he did agree a deal with a Saudi Arabian club in January. However, we told him he has to stay because we don't want to try and sign a new striker. So you could see why he would be unhappy if that is the case. In my opinion, we should just take the money. The money being reported back in January was very good. And ever since, he hasn't really done too much. Obviously, he got the couple of goals to win us the game at Brentford. But apart from that, I can't really think of too many goals he's scored. Maybe he scored one or two since, but nothing major. So yeah, I think it's best for all of us if we part ways. In terms of Jota, I do really like Jota, but yeah, if you're going to defend the title, you do need to be ruthless. I would move on Jota also. He just struggles with injuries too much, and when he has been for the season, he's just not been the same Jota that we've been used to in previous seasons. So I do think replacing them both would be the ideal scenario. We are seeing links to players like Isak and Julian Alvarez, both fantastic players. I would love either of them at Liverpool. The issue is with Isak, I do think Newcastle are going to get Champions League football. And if that's the case, I don't think you're going to get him out of Newcastle. I think the money they would want would just be astronomical, and obviously Liverpool aren't going to pay that sort of money. In terms of Alvarez, so apparently we did actually try and swap him for Luis Diaz before he left Man City, but the clubs were too far away from the players' evaluations. Um, in terms of being able to strike a deal. So that didn't happen. But I would love Alvarez at Liverpool. Really rated him at Man City. He's had a really good season at Atletico Madrid. I just think he would be fantastic for us. We've also seen links with players like Liam Delap, and the striker from Frankfurt. I can never pronounce his name. The French striker, the Ekatike, something like that. Probably butchered that, but yeah, we're seeing quite a few different links. In my opinion, we do need a top striker. So Isak or Alvarez would be the choices. I would be gutted if we only signed someone like Delap, to be honest. I think Delap would be decent as a rotational piece if we got rid of both Jota and Nunez, but he can't be our main striker coming in. But we'll see what happens. As I said, my pick would be Isak or Alvarez, if I'm being completely honest. But we'll see what happens with that, and let's move on to the next position. So the next position I feel like we really need to strengthen would be left back. So we are seeing reports that apparently Kerkez is a done deal. It's just not been announced yet. If that is the case, that's fantastic news. I really do rate Kerkez. I rated him before we were even linked to him when he joined Bournemouth last year. And yeah, he's just a very good player. Reminds me of a young Robertson, to be fair. Attacking, very, very good. Loves to get forward. But he's also very solid defensively. And he's got a really good engine as well. Just gets up and down the pitch for the full 90 minutes. So I think he would be an ideal player to come in. In my opinion, I would get rid of Simicast. I do like Simicast. He is well liked at the club, but yeah, you just have to be ruthless, and I just don't think he has the standard of Liverpool. So I would move him on. I would make Robertson the rotational piece, and I'd bring in a new left back. As I said, it seems like it's going to be Kerkez. Other good options would be obviously Robinson from Fulham. He's had an amazing season. You've also got Hattel from Ajax, and he can also play centre back, so he would be like an ideal kind of signing. He can kind of cover both positions, which would be fantastic. I will talk about centre back a bit later in the video, but I definitely do think left back should be one of our priorities. And let's get into the next one. So next position I feel we need, I did just mention it, would be centre back. So obviously Matip left last year, and I already felt like we needed another centre back. Never mind Matip leaving. So in my opinion, we do need two. But I feel like we would only sign one. So who I would sign? So it is a tricky one. Obviously, we're seeing a lot of links to Huijsen from Bournemouth. He is a young centre back, though. I would like someone a bit more experienced. I would still sign him, but I do think you need a more experienced centre back. I would go for Mark Gahey from Palace. Obviously, he's a captain at Palace, so bringing another leader into the dressing room is only a positive. Seems like a very mature guy as well. He is still young, but just the way he carries himself seems very mature, very professional. So I think he would be very, very good. Another centre back I would love. So this one's out there. I know it would never happen, but Bastoni from Inter Milan. That guy's just a Rolls Royce of a centre back. He's fantastic. Obviously, you see Inter Milan in the semi final of the Champions League this year. A couple of seasons ago, they were in the finals, so he's an integral part of that. And I just think he would be an unbelievable signing. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think Huijsen's probably the most likely, but I would love Mark Gahey. I think that would be really good. Um, yeah, Kwanzaa, I don't think he's a standard, if I'm being honest. When I say this about players, like I don't mean like it's nothing personal. Like I don't mean anything bad. When I say like these players aren't good enough, but I'm just being completely honest. I just don't think he's Liverpool standard. He's still young, so he still could develop. But I just think we need another really proven centre back in the meantime. And then obviously Joe Gomez struggled with injuries again this season. Apparently he did want to leave last summer, but he did decide to stay. So I think it's just a matter of time before he leaves also, unfortunately. But yeah, definitely need a centre back. Let's get into the next one. Okay, so next one's going to be a CDM. It is a position I really do feel like we need to strengthen. Obviously, we've got Gravenberch had an unbelievable season, um, but he does need rotation. Like we've seen it, some performances recently hasn't been his best, and it's nothing to do with him. I just think he's feeling the fatigue. It's been a long season, a lot of minutes. Obviously, playing at CDM, you're covering a lot of distance, getting into a lot of battles as well. So yeah, I think we do need a backup. Obviously got Endo, but for whatever reason, Slot doesn't really seem to rate him. So I do think he will get moved on in this summer. And if that is the case, we do need to bring in a new CDM. So do need to bring in someone. Obviously, we were heavily linked with Zubimendi. That deal fell through. So I don't think that's going to happen anymore. In terms of who you bring in, I'm not too sure, to be honest. Maybe Ederson from Atalanta. We have seen some links with him in the past. We're seeing some links for the Stuttgart CDM Stiller. He could be another decent signing. But in terms of CDMs, like there's a lot of good CDMs in world football. But in terms of who's going to be available, I'm not too sure. Let me know who you would kind of bring in at CDM, or who do you think we could potentially bring in. Obviously, we've seen a lot of links to Tchouameni. Obviously, we did want him before he went to Real Madrid, and then he's not been too good at Real Madrid, so we have seen links in potentially could get rid of him. However, this season, to be fair, he has been a bit better, but last season he did struggle a bit. So apparently there were reports that he could potentially be leaving. So we'll see what happens with that one. If I'm being honest, I can't really see him coming to Liverpool. But yeah, let me know who you would bring at CDM. I do definitely think that is a position we need to bring in. And yeah, let's get on to the last position. So last position, we need to strengthen. So this really just depends what happens with Trent. So right back, obviously we've got Connor Bradley. He is a fantastic player. I really do rate Bradley. However, he is young and he is quite inconsistent. Obviously, that happens with young players. He does have the odd game where he's not very good. So I do think you need to bring in a more proven right back to kind of rotate with Bradley. So in terms of who you bring in, that's another tricky one in my opinion. Even when I play Football Manager, right back's always one I struggle with, just because there's no, yeah, it is hard because there's a lot of decent young right backs, and obviously you've got players like Trent who are, yeah, top class, but you don't really have anyone in the in between. The only one I can really think of is Frimpong from Leverkusen. Obviously, he does have that release clause, so it would be quite cheap. And obviously, you've got the Dutch connection as well. But you do see people saying he's more of a winger. I disagree. I think he's a wing back, so obviously he could play at full back if we need him to. So I think he would be a really good signing if Trent does decide to leave, which I think he will. Um, but yeah, we'll see. That would be the other position we would need to strengthen though, because obviously we can't just have Connor Bradley there. Obviously, Joe Gomez could play right back, but as I said, he's struggling with injuries. I think he might move on in the summer. And then you've got Kwanzaa, who Slot started playing Jones at right back over him, so that just kind of tells you everything you need to know about him playing at right back. So we'll see what happens. Let's get on to the outgoings. So in terms of outgoings, obviously I've discussed most of them in this video already, but I think Nunes will move on. I think there is potential for Jota to move on. I don't think we'll get rid of both, if I'm being completely honest. So I think Nunes will go. We're seeing a lot of reports saying apparently Diaz wants to go to Barcelona. So I think there is potential there. We'll need to see what happens with that one. I don't know if I would move him on, to be honest. Diaz is a weird one. Like I love watching Diaz play. I find him so entertaining, but he is very inconsistent. Like I think his decision making at times is very poor, um, especially for like the level of Liverpool. But yeah, we'll see what happens with Diaz. I think Keza could potentially go. Obviously, he's had no playing time this season, which is very unfortunate. I do really like Keza. But yeah, I don't think he's going to waste his career sitting on the bench. So I think he will potentially be going, unfortunately. Simicast, as I said, I would move him on. Um, I wouldn't necessarily move on Kwanzaa. We are seeing some reports that he is going to leave, apparently. I've seen apparently, is it Inter Milan that want him or AC Milan? So there's potential there. I don't think he will, though, because obviously he's young, he's English, he helps us with the registration. Um, and yeah, potentially Trent will go. And then, as I said, Endo, I think he'll be going as well. So yeah, that's the kind of outgoings I expect. Potentially Elliot. Obviously, we're seeing some reports saying there's a lot of clubs interested. Obviously, he's not getting a lot of playing time under slot, so we need to see. It's a weird one. So obviously, it does sound like it's going to be a very busy summer, but how busy it's going to be, I am very skeptical. And that's going to be the last part of the video. So let's get into that. So just to wrap up the video then, yeah, I'm just going to talk about what I think will actually happen this summer. I don't think we're going to have a summer I think we should have, if I'm being completely honest. So in my life in general, I don't like being negative. But when it comes to FSG, I am very skeptical, so I know it can come across as negative, but I'm not a big fan of theirs. I don't think they kind of spend the money they should at a club like Liverpool. So yeah, I don't know how good the summer is actually going to be. What I think will happen is I think we'll get rid of Nunez. We'll bring in one striker. Who that striker is going to be, I'm not too sure. I don't think we're going to get anyone like Isaac or Alvarez, if I'm being completely honest. Obviously, I hope I'm proved wrong. Like I would love nothing more. But if I'm being honest, I just don't think that's going to happen. I think we'll bring in left back. As I said, Kerkez seems to be pretty much a done deal, so that should happen. I think we'll bring in one centre back. I don't think it's going to be like a top centre back that we'd be hoping for. And I think I don't even know if we'll bring in a CDM. I'll be completely honest. I don't know if that's going to happen. Um, so yeah, I can only really see us bringing in one striker, a left back, and maybe a centre back. Um, but yeah, anyway, that's kind of my whole thoughts on the summer. That's what I would do. That's what I think will happen. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. And yeah, feel free to leave a comment. And if you want to like and subscribe, obviously it's greatly appreciated. But I'll see you in the next video.